Hi Rock family, I'm Louise. Welcome to Midweek devotion. Recently we've seen so much in the news about how lives matter. We have seen the debate and maybe even been pulled into thinking about racism and how people can be treated differently just because they're different. And yet, the simple truth is written on the back wall of our church and we see it every week. Everybody matters. That's the simple truth. Now, I love how God often uses circumstances and the happenings of life to teach us things or to speak to us. Well, he does to me, so I hope he does to you too. And I had one of these moments recently when I was reading the Bible in the morning. So I want to read to you from Matthew chapter 20, verses 1 to 15. And Jesus told the parable of the workers in the vineyard. And he said, "For the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning to hire men in his vineyard. He agreed to pay them a denarius for the day and sent them into the vineyard. About the third hour, he went out and saw others standing in the marketplace doing nothing. He told them, 'You also go and work in my vineyard, and I will pay you whatever is right.' So they went. He went out again at the 6th hour and the 9th hour and did the same thing. About the 11th hour, he went out and found still others standing around. He asked them, 'Why have you been standing here all day doing nothing?' 'Because no one has hired us,' they answered. He said to them, 'You also go and work in my vineyard.' When evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, 'Call the workers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last ones hired and going on to the first.' The workers who were hired about the 11th hour came, and each received a denarius. So when those came who were hired first, they expected to receive more, but each one of them also received a denarius. When they received it, they began to grumble against the landowner. 'These men who were hired last worked only 1 hour,' they said, 'and you have made them equal to us, who have borne the burden of the work and the heat of the day.' But he answered one of them, 'Friend, I'm not being unfair to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius? Take your pay and go. I want to give the man who was hired last the same as I gave you. Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I'm so generous?'" You see, at the beginning of the story, we see that the workers are hired. They're standing around in the marketplace waiting to find someone who will pay them for a day's work. And they agree with the landowner that they will work for a denarius for the day. So at this point, they enter a relationship with him, like a contract, I guess, where this is the rules. We'll work for the day and we'll get paid 1 denarius. It's all set out. And off they go to do their day's work to earn their pay that they've agreed to. But throughout the day, more and more workers are hired and come and work in the vineyard with them. Now, when it comes to pay time, the workers who worked all 12 hours got the same amount of pay as those who worked 9 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, and only 1 hour. Now, to them, comparing their situation to that of the other workers, they felt that this was very unfair. But the response of the landowner was very matter of fact. He simply said to them, "But friends, I've not been unfair to you. Didn't you agree to work for a denarius?" Everything they'd agreed to in their contract when they started the relationship had been done. The landowner hadn't changed the rules. He didn't change the amount of work they needed to do. He didn't change how much they were getting paid. He simply did what he said he would do. The issue for the workers wasn't really that the landowner had done something wrong by them. It was their perception that was the problem. But they perceived that they were worth more to the landowner compared to the others who had worked. This reminds me so much of modern day life, where we're constantly bombarded with images and news and social media showing us the good, bad and ugly of other people in their lives. We are encouraged to compare ourselves with everyone. We're encouraged to look at what they have, what we don't have, how we compare to them. And we're encouraged to weigh up whether life is in fact fair for us compared to other people. Even as Christians, we often compare our journey with that of others. We compare the gifts that we have, we compare the opportunities that we get, and we compare the way people treat us. We even compare what we perceive to be God's blessing on our lives and the blessing on other people's lives. So thinking about all of that and thinking about the parable, and I just really felt then to ask God and say, God, show me more in this parable. Can you tell me what else is going on here? Why is this parable just sticking out? So I read it again, and he did. He showed me a few things. So I'll share a few things with you. The first one, and it sounds really simple, but to me it was really profound, I guess, as a person who sometimes struggles with what they're worth, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, that this simple truth in that parable was just, we are each worth one. It doesn't matter who we are, it doesn't matter where we've been, what we've done, what we look like, how much money we've got, how long we've been in the church, anything like that. We're worth one to God. None of us can make ourselves worth more, not even by working more, not by turning up and doing 12 hours every day can we make ourselves worth more to God. And an even better thing is that we can't make ourselves worth any less. Even if we've believed lies and we've been deceived or we've made bad choices or whatever we've done or what we haven't done, we can't make ourselves worth any less. You see, we can nurture, we can develop, and we can polish ourselves and this one that we've been given, or not. We can stay how we are. It doesn't make a difference to God because we're already worth one to him. Even before we come to him, our value was already one. And that's great news for all of us. The second thing that he showed me was when we meet Jesus doesn't matter. It doesn't change our worth. So even those engaged at the 11th hour are worth one. So even if someone repents on their deathbed, they are still worth one to God. I remember a friend telling me that he had the ultimate pleasure of leading his father to the Lord on his deathbed. And that early in the conversation, his dad said to him, but how can you think that's fair for me to repent now and become a Christian and believe in God and get to go to heaven and have all the inheritance that he's promised everyone when there's people giving their whole lives to Jesus and living for him and working hard for him? How can that be fair? But the truth is, it doesn't have to be fair. He hasn't cheated anyone. He hasn't done anything. He's always been worth one to God. And the fact of the matter is that he's been saved just before it was too late. And so he's worth one. He's worth being celebrated as one who's come to the Lord, one who God has pursued and then saved because he's found him. And you see that in the parable. They're all worth one, no matter how long they've been there. The third thing that God showed me through the parable was that when we enter our relationship with Jesus, we need to give up comparing ourselves with others. Our value to God is already set. It's one. Comparing ourselves with others can leave us thinking that we are worth more and then putting other people down, or that we're worth less than others. And it simply is not true. Jesus doesn't leave the 99 to look for fractions or pieces. He leaves them and he looks for and he finds the one. See, he went to the cross and died for each one. He loves each one. Now, like the vineyard owner, God is generous to each one of us. His love is freely available to us and for us to share with others. Now, my hope today is that you have been reminded of your worth, and that instead of comparing yourself to others, that you will be one who encourages others to be their best too. Why don't you take a few minutes now to plan who the one will be that you start to encourage, that you start to deliberately build into their lives and speak their worth to them, speak the worth that God has for them and their value to him today. So I just ask now, why don't you pray for that one or the several ones who you know need to know that, and go about working out a plan to help them understand that. Have a great week, church.